Welcome back to Rolling with the Punches. We're here on episode 9. You're joined by myself, Ben Birtles. As always, we're joined by Connor Picken. How you doing, mate?
All right, my son. You know what? We've been getting so much shit for this introduction, so let's just keep it simple and now I'm all good, mate.
Yeah, we'll just rattle on, mate, quickly. But listen, today we've got we're very excited to have Jordan Reynolds. We've recorded an interview this week, and we're gonna show you that in this week's episode. And after that, we're gonna touch a little bit on the White Povetkin rematch, and obviously White's big win, as well as reviewing a few other cards. So enjoy. I'm delighted to say that we're joined by the former Team GB boxer and current unbeaten professional, Jordan Reynolds. Jordan, how's it going, mate?
All good, mate. Yourself?
Not too bad, mate. We wanted to just start really with your last fight against Robbie Chapman. Obviously, you made your debut. Robbie was calling you out a little bit in the amateurs and obviously leading up to the fight. How did you assess your performance in the end?
Yeah, with the calling out stuff, it was just nothing personal, just business, you know. I know Robbie's he's a nice kid, he's a nice, genuine kid, to be fair. But he's always been after me. And performance-wise, yeah, I can't really complain. 8 out of 10 for me. You know, I ain't been in the ring for 2 years, but I showed a bit of everything. My boxing skills, my reflexes. I got hit about 3 times, and I showed that I can punch a bit as well. So, which I nearly had him out of there in the second round. His legs went, but I just stayed disciplined and controlled, and my amateur pedigree kind of came through what to do in that situation. So I didn't really rush anything. I just stuck behind the jab.
And what's next for you, mate? Sorry, Connor. What's next for you? Is it Nathan Heaney? I saw you called him out after the fight. Is there anything in particular you've got your eyes on? Yeah,
listen. Obviously, the fight for him don't make sense because that'd be my second fight, be his 12th or 13th. But my debut was harder than his last fight, and he's on like 11 or 12 fights. You know what I mean? So yeah, listen, he is what I'm gunning for, but I'm sitting down with the team. I'm back in London now. I'm looking to maybe even drop a weight to super welterweight, you know, more competitive. So yeah, we're going to kind of move from there. But I should be out fighting in June.
I mean, that's really interesting because that Robbie Chapman fight, I think it was really good because that's something we're now seeing in the pandemic, isn't it? Is more kind of even fights. And so obviously for him to have 6 wins under his belt, you know, and kind of less losses at the time, it's really impressive. What do you make of lockdown boxing? I suppose you probably got asked this quite a lot, but what?
Nah. Do you know what? I think it's great. I think it's kind of it's like throwbacks now. Like back in the day, you know, it's been 50-50 fights. You know what I mean? Back in the day, so it's kind of all brought that back into now. You know, the best fights, the best. And listen, like, and it's so it should be. Do you know what I mean? Lads, working class. 9 times out of 10, it's working class people who go watch the boxing. So they're going out to, you know, work and spend their hard-earned money. So why not give them the fights they want? So simple as that, really. I think this is what we're in the game for. Do you know what I mean?
Great answer. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm sure Ben does too.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just going to we had a Team GB fighter on recently who's on the Podium Potential squad. I just kind of wanted to get your take on sort of how you think those experiences are going to help you going forward and what you can take really from that elite level amateur boxing into the pros.
Yeah, like so little things, just the little things will make the big differences. So like when you're going to abroad to Russia and whatnot with Team GB, you don't really know who you're boxing. And my last tournament, I boxed 5 people in a week, and everyone had different styles. And so I know that I can adapt to whatever style. I know I can box. I can have a war. I can counter box. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you need to do that in the pros because it's 12 rounds. Sometimes, you know, they adapt in the ring throughout the fight. So that helps, you know what I mean? But going away, the nerves, how to control, you kind of know what works for you, how to prepare for a fight. But the pro games is a completely different game as well. So I'm still learning. You never stop learning this game anyway.
And then I also want to touch upon there because you mentioned kind of obviously you might drop down to super welter. So kind of who do you rate kind of obviously apart from yourself kind of prospect wise, maybe in middle and kind of super welter? Can I give me someone you've got your eye on at the moment because they're 2 really exciting?
No, I haven't like really. So basically, lately, because I've been competing at middleweight, so I've been looking at who's Southern Area champion, and I've just been told that I might be going down to super welterweight. So I've been looking at, who's Southern Area champion then. So I'm kind of looking at the first titles I'll be fighting first. So on my third or fourth fight, I want to be fighting for a Southern Area title. So that's my main goal. But yeah, listen, like domestically, them weights are popping, mate. They're popping. They're busy. It's competitive. But yeah, listen, the pro game, it's dangerous. The little gloves, the 10-ounce gloves. If we seen it a few months back with White. He switched off for half a second, and he got knocked clean out. So every fight's dangerous. Every fight's you got to be 100%. But I'm taking literally my goal is one step at a time, and it's each title at a time. So the first vision is the Southern Area title. I like to get that by the end of the year, if I'm honest. So I've got to see how I make the weight first and whatnot. So yeah.
And is that really important to you then? Because I know for a lot of fighters, we talked about it before, is that they kind of don't go down the traditional route. Like for me, that's kind of almost lost. Like, and a lot of fighters, I really love the idea of Southern Area, British, kind of, and going, and maybe then, kind of you want to go Commonwealth, European, and kind of moving upwards.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of fighters, they're kind of calling out guys, who might be kind of 30, we saw Solomon Dakers in heavyweights. I mean, for you, is it? I think it's taking step by step at a time. Is that what you're looking to do?
Yeah, for sure. Listen, it's got to make sense as well for me. It's a business as well, so you know what I mean. So whatever makes sense, but ideally in my head, let's get the Southern Area, let's defend it twice, win it outright. Let's get the English, defend it twice, win it outright. British, do you know what I mean? Bang it out, because don't get me wrong, I need a couple of fights at the weight or whatever, and then straight into it. And that's what does the amateurs. And the amateurs had two. I started boxing at 16. I had 2 fights, and then they chucked me in the ABAs, and I was boxing kids with 60, 70 fights, world number 2s and things like that. And I was beating them, and if not, I was getting to the final. So, like, I've been in this situation before. So, yeah, let's get a little feel through, and then let's crack on, mate. Because, yeah, I'm not here to. It doesn't make sense to me having 15 fights, 15 wins, and you're still staying at rank 30 to 40. Do you know what I mean? Boxing lads who've had 6 wins and 100 losses.
Yeah, 100%.
No point.
I wanted to take you sort of all the way back to the beginning of it, just the beginning of your sort of amateur career and growing up in Luton. And I read something recently on BBC Sport about you actually, and how much boxing did for you. How can you sort of put it into words what boxing's done for you in your life?
Yeah, listen, boxing it's a semicolon. Do you know what I mean? It's like I would be in. I don't know what I'd be doing. Do you know what I mean? I'll be doing the negative path. If I'm honest, I'm extremist. I'm either up here, positive, or down here. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, boxing gave me that. It built me into a man. Built me how to speak to people, discipline, respect. I can't. It's choosing the right, and it's the choice I've made to stick at boxing. That's kind of got me out of trouble. Like there's been when I moved away and. Oh, so listen. So it's a mad old game, boxing. Do you know what I mean? It's a mad old game, but yeah, boxing built me into a man. If I'm honest, mate.
And then that, I suppose, talking about boxing, kind of building into your man and taking you kind of forward for your professional career going forward. Do you? Obviously, probably quite a tricky question to ask. Do you want to stay kind of work on MTK? Is there any promoters out there that kind of catch your eye? Or
yeah, so the plan is right. I'm managed MTK, my manager. So I thought to myself, instead of being stuck with one promoter, MTK they're very strong, powerful management. So I can jump on the BT Sports, the Sky Sports, and go over them all. Do you know what I mean? So I thought to myself, why not do a year of that, and then I'll be worth more. Then I've got more to say. Do you know what I mean? So then I'll go with Eddie Hearns and whatnot. So I'm in no rush. Like as long as I'm fighting, I'm busy, I'm getting paid. It don't matter. I'm climbing the rankings. It don't really matter for me, mate. Like you get lads that want to jump onto the Eddie Hearns or Sky Sports ASAP to walk around and go, "Oh, I'm with Matchroom," but they're probably not even get looked after, or they're probably not even get. Like, I don't know. I don't know what their contracts are. So like, do you know what I mean? So it makes sense for me what I'm doing. MTK are very, very strong.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think Ben, you'd agree. Like as we've seen, kind of, I suppose MTK's shows have kind of really shone in lockdown, and I'm really, really impressed with them. So
that's during this time as well. Like they've adapted and they've evolved Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's about. And I've come through with the goods. And listen, I'm a working class kid, building back up. They're just giving me opportunities. Can't thank them enough. So I just got to play my part as well. Do you know what I mean? And deliver and perform.
And I've seen you're a big West Ham fan, Jordan, and obviously growing up in Luton, you're naturally going to mobilise a few fans from there. How excited are you to get out in front of the fans? Obviously, you've only boxed now in front of the behind closed doors. So how excited are you to get out and box in front of some of your fans?
I can't wait. Listen, I'll get messages all around the country, mate. As an amateur, I could sell your call. Do you know what I mean? I've been selling 1,600 tickets, so it's gonna be class. Like, you know, I booked for West Ham as an amateur. I built a big following down in the East End, so I got the whole of Luton, I got the whole East End, Essex all behind me, and I've got the North East. I've got some great support, and one weekend. When we can start getting the crowds in, it's going to be some big nights ahead. Like, and that's what I'm in it for. Like, I want to leave a great legacy. And my dream is, don't get me wrong, when these titles and that, but like, it's to bring back the hand days and where you can just walk out and you've got these arenas. Then like, you go back and have a few beers with the whole crowd, or just be among them. If I'm drinking, just be among everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? So I can't wait. It's gonna be some real big nights ahead. Like, and it's gonna be a buzz, mate. It's gonna be crazy.
And you mentioned Nathan Heaney was after the fight a little bit, and obviously he has a big Stoke City following. So how excited would you be at the prospect of maybe getting you two together and having Stoke there and West Ham there and your Luton following? That would be a massive night.
Yeah, mate, it makes sense. I mean, that's a promoter's dream. So listen, I'll take that fight in a heartbeat, mate, all day long. Like, probably get cancelled because you know what the fans are like, on both ends. Be more like a football fan. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, as long as everyone's behaved, mate, it'd be the energy. Energy would be crazy. It'd be class.
And then I guess me, one question I really want to ask you is, how do you break down the kind of the big fight this weekend? So, Dylan White Povetkin, what's your thoughts on it, mate?
Do you know what? So you see, last time, right, with White, I done a very good accumulator, okay, and I was bringing the lads. I was going, I told you, I said, oh, I've smashed it, and then boom. That's what I'm saying with boxing. It just switched off for half a second. I was like, I couldn't believe it, right? But now I really do think White will stop him 5 to 8 rounds. I really do, because that like, listen, Povetkin's dangerous, but even his last fight, it was made for White, really. When you look at like his age, his punch resistance, it was all gone. Like, time's gone on. That punishment, I think White put him down about 2 or 3 times. So that takes a lot of toll, and it's not like he's getting young. He's getting on a bit. Do you know what I mean? So that all adds up, and I just feel like White's going to be a bit more. A bit too fresh and a bit too switched on for him. Like, I don't think he'd take any chances. I think it'd be cagey for 1 or 2, but then I just think he'd catch Povetkin. But it's heavyweight boxing. You just never know what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, last time, I couldn't believe it. Honestly, like, I couldn't believe it. So that's the beauty of boxing.
For me, I mean, one thing with that is no one's talking about. I mean, I know I haven't had COVID. I don't think I have. Ben, I'm not sure about you or you, Jordan, but Povetkin's kind of only just recovered, and that's something I really want to know about. I mean, how badly has it affected him?
Well, he had COVID.
Yeah, he had COVID earlier this year.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, mate. Yeah, I don't know. Like, listen, I've had friends and good friends. They've been I've been tested positive for COVID. It's like, I don't know. It's not even accurate. Do you know what I mean? I've done 3 tests, and I've been negative, then positive, or the other way around. So it's like, it's not even.
Yeah.
The PCR test is, do you know what I mean? It's just like, you just don't know, and like, I don't know. I just think Povetkin's he's a veteran. He's been in the game. He's world class. He's a clever man. He ain't gonna take that fight if he's not 100%. Do you know what I mean? You can't, because it's still a big opportunity for him. Because if he wins that, then mate, he's well out of the picture, and he's in a big payday. Do you know what I mean? His next fight after that. So
Was it something, obviously with COVID, was it something that worried you in the lead up to the fight at all? Were you constantly thinking, like my opponent might get COVID, I might get it? Was it something that was
Yeah,
just a constant headache?
yeah, 100%. Because like, yeah, it's just like everything was done the way, everything was all made, and then you're in the bubble and you think to yourself, like, mate, I'm going to bed on, I'm going to sleep and wait, and like I've still got to wait for a letter to be under my door. Do you know what I mean? So it's always got that like, but listen, it's one of the things you just got to suck it up and we've got to get on with it. Do you know what I mean? There's no point crying or complaining about it. It is what it is, and just got to deal with it. That's all we can do.
Well, listen, Jordan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and we can't wait to see what's next for your career. So thank you so much for joining us.
And also, listen, Connor, Ben, I appreciate having me. And listen, we'll catch up in a few months now. Listen, good luck to what you're doing. And if I can help in any way, just give me a shout.
So I'm sure you can agree, Connor, that interview was brilliant and great to hear from Jordan.
100%, mate. Proper bloke. And I look forward to getting him on a few months down the line after he's had a few more fights and following his journey.
Well, listen, there was so much action this weekend, and we could probably go on for days talking about the BT card. Willie Hutchinson took a loss to Lennox Clark. That was a big shock. And a big stacked undercard from Eddie Hearn, which we both enjoyed. But I think we'll just start really with Ted Cheeseman and his big win against JJ Metcalf for the British. What did you make of it, Connor?
Mate, what a fight. I mean, I'm just such a big Cheeseman fan. I think at the age of 25, to have been through however many wars he's been through, I really think he deserves an easy fight next. But JJ Metcalf, as gamers, can be really strong. What a chin. I think Cheeseman he showed his class a bit, as he realized he was getting into deep water himself, drowning a tiny bit. He kind of pulled out the bag, and I'm really excited for the Cheese. Obviously he just got, did you see, I think about an hour ago, the British Boxing Board of Control just announced him as a contest of the year, him versus the Egg, for last year's fight. So I think there's only really great things coming his way, and I'm a big fan.
Yeah, his style, obviously probably with the exclusion of the Scott Fitzgerald fight where he got on his toes a bit more and boxed. I think Ted just attracts those wars and toe-to-toe battles. And I think that's just something about him where he's always going to be involved in good fights, no matter at what level. Really happy for Ted as well, mate, for sure. He's, as we've spoken about before in here, those Kieran Conway and Scott Fitzgerald decisions were close, and probably Ted nicked both of them. So happy for him to be British champion again and can now move forward and get some even bigger fights.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll. I think he deserves a tick-over fight, but I don't think he's going to get that because now he's at a progression in his career where he can't, because he's so close to taking those international fights. He's so close to getting what he wants. I think next fight's going to be Fowler probably. I mean, that's going to be fucking hell. What a war that will be. And then hopefully after that fight, that's the last domestic fight for him, and then he'll move on international, seeing some really big fights. I hope so, because he deserves it.
Yeah, I think super welter's so strong, mate. You've got Fitzy, he's coming back now after a layoff. Fowler's, just shown what he can do really at the weight. He's excellent in his own right. Ted's there. JJ Metcalf will be back and stronger. I think he's a good fighter. I think he was exhausted in the back end of that fight and paid the price. He seems like he could be a force to be reckoned with. But yeah, so many good domestic matchups there, and I'm looking forward to them. And sort of moving on now, we've got so many fights from that card that we can talk about. We could touch on, Congo taking a bit of a devastating loss. We also had Fabio Wardley against Eric Molina, didn't we, on the weekend? A bit of a strange one that. I thought Fabio Wardley got caught a few too many times for the level of fight he was fighting, but nonetheless, good experience and good to see Ricky in his corner, just adding that extra voice. Again, there was loads of fights on the BT card. Obviously, we saw Pavel Sauer and Nathan Gorman. A big fight maybe for Nathan Gorman with David Adelaide, which we also saw fight on Friday night. So again, there was so much boxing this weekend. And obviously, probably important to mention before we do the white review, the big action this weekend. We've got, now I'm going to try and say his name right, Akhmadaliyev against Iwasa for the unified super bantamweight title. And then Frampton's obviously taking on Herring in a big fight for him, the WBO World Super Featherweight title. And in his sort of bid to become a 3-weight world champion and make history. But let's move on to White Povetkin, because I know that's what we're here to talk about. So Connor, take it away, mate. What did you make of the action on the weekend?
Mate, what a fight. I mean, just going back to to the fight. He took off from where he left off last time, but just before he got knocked out by Povetkin, it was something else. But to be honest, I did feel like Povetkin wasn't himself. He almost looked, now watching it back, he almost looked off balance on the way into the fucking ring. Do you know what I mean? I mean, in the first round, I thought he got clipped by a jab almost, was off balance. I don't know if Povetkin was at his peak, but he is 41, and I'm happy for Dillian White at the end of the day, mate. How do you break it down?
So I think the best place to start really in breaking down this one is probably with Povetkin. I think it's time for him to retire, to be quite honest. He retires a 41-year-old former Olympic and world champion. There's no shame in retiring now. I think there's something to be said, maybe, and there was a lot of talk of it in sort of the build-up with long COVID and the effects that maybe he took on from COVID. He did look an old man, but I think it's almost an obvious answer, and you can be a bit of an after-timer by stating it, if that makes sense. I think it's a bit obvious. He's 41. He still would have carried that power. And then in terms of Dillian's performance, I thought it was composed. I thought he did exactly what he needed to. I think the early rounds he probably took a few too many chances at close quarters, and Povetkin missed by half an inch at times. But like you just said, Povetkin's feet, they weren't steady for any of that fight. And I think one thing in particular that sort of Harold Knight's worked on with Dillian is the jab and the variation of it. And I think those jabs to the top of the head on the way in with Povetkin, because he loved to come forward, it became completely unsteady for Povetkin as a result of those shots. And then he wasn't, obviously he caught Povetkin a few times in the lead up to the finish. It was pretty brutal. I think Victor Lachlan told the BBC, the referee on the night, said to the BBC at the Gibraltar airport on the way home that it just looked so brutal, and it was one of the most brutal fights he'd ever been involved in. At close quarters, it was just, Dillian's power was disgusting. And he was composed, he was measured as we said he would be, and he just got the job done, mate. He didn't really need to make too many adjustments, as we said. Got the job done, and I think he'll be looking to sort of fight, Wilder or Ruiz, or maybe get Trevor Bryant in the ring. I don't know. What are your thoughts on kind of what's next for him, mate?
Yeah, well, Eddie Hearn, I watched an interview, I think it was yesterday, and he went, Dillian White has been in wars, and although I agree with it, because he has been, no matter what fight, it's going to be a war, because that's his fighting style. He's war, you know what I mean? He is maximum violence, right? But he has been in with the likes of Oscar Rivas, Marius Wack. I just want to see him keep on stepping up, because AJ probably hasn't had a hard fight since Charles Martin. Do you know what I mean? He's just gone after step by step by step. And for Dillian White, I don't really want to see him box Trevor Bryan, to be honest. I feel like that's kind of, it's almost a disrespect to Dillian White's skill. I don't know if I'm not a fighter. I can't talk about whether he deserves an easy fight or not, really, because getting in the ring at the end of the day. But I just want to see him going up through the gears now, non-stop, really. What about you?
Look, if you offered me the Andy Ruiz or Wilder fights, I would want to take them in a heartbeat. I think he can beat both of them. I'm sure you agree. The Wilder fight is dangerous for White for obvious reasons, but I would favour White in that fight. I think those big winging shots, I'd like to see, when he comes forward, what Wilder would do on the way back. The Ruiz fight, I think, is a cracker, because Ruiz has such fast hands. Obviously, we're gonna be so excited, aren't we, to see him box Arreola and see what adjustments Eddie Reynoso has made with him. But I think both of those fights have got to excite anyone. Do you see a White win in both of those instances, or do you think Ruiz would be tough for him, or Wilder? What do you reckon?
So I see, definitely. I think he'd definitely beat Wilder. Obviously, Wilder is a dangerous fighter every second. You know what I mean? White has to be good for every minute he's in the ring with him. Wilder, it is a split second, but I think White's got his number. As long as he puts on him the pure aggression, he can rough him up. Ruiz, he worries me a lot. I think he, I don't know. I'll tell you what, ask me this question after we see his fight against Chris, but I'm scared, because his fast hands, when he starts trading, I think it comes from angles you don't even almost see. And I think the key for Andy Ruiz in that fight would be to work his belly, because he's got a big enough one. So he'd have to work downstairs to his belly, mate. And he'd have, because that's the key, I think, to beat Ruiz. I don't think you can really trade headshots with him, because his hands are too fast. So that's the key for me in that fight. But I don't know.
I think the other thing we saw about White this weekend a little bit is he's got such an underrated jab, mate. I actually underestimated the power of his jab. It's accurate, it's sharp, he throws it with good variation. And I really like that Harold Knight combination. Like every time, I don't know if you noticed this, but every time, White landed one of those jabs and landed it with spite in particular, you'd hear massive cheers from White's corner. I think that's good signs. I think White's great when he comes in, charges in, maximum violence. But I also like to see White, nice and measured off the end of that jab. And I think it's something that will serve him well as he maybe gets those top fights. And as he develops that jab, I think he becomes more and more and more of a tough fight for AJ Fury. I'm not saying that he beats either of them at this current moment, but I think it's going to be a very, very important tool for him to use.
That's a really good point, actually, because when you go through the levels, your boxing has to come into it, and the fundamentals are key. So yeah, kind of changing up that jab, mate. Really good point. We'll see how it kind of come into use when he steps up and goes past those guys.
Just quickly as well, some other sort of another development in the heavyweight scene we saw this weekend. John Fury was on BT Sport this weekend for the Lennox Clark Willie Hutchinson fight, and he basically said that he's not certain that Fury does box AJ this year, and further to that, he wants to see Fury box at least twice, maybe even before he gets into the ring with Joshua. That's very disappointing news. I'm sure you can share my views on that, but what do you kind of make of that? And do you think that Tyson maybe does want to tune up?
I don't know, mate, because there's so much to take from it, really. Tyson will say anything to get anyone kind of off their seat, sitting on the edge. But at the same time, you can't expect the man to want tune-ups when he's come out for 3 years out of the ring, boxed basically to nobodies, come back and drew with Wilder, but really we know he beat him. So I don't think he actually cares about the tune-up fights, really. I mean, we've seen him get cold feet before when he's going to come back to, defending his belts. He's never defended a belt before, I'm pretty sure. But I feel like they're saying it for negotiation reasons that we don't know about. Because I don't think they're fighting men, do you know what I mean, mate? I mean, I think they're both happy to get into the ring at any point. But one thing I will say is I think it's really clever from Eddie Hearn what he's doing, because he was given so much shit when the Deontay Wilder-AJ fight fell through, because apparently he didn't want the fight or he was keeping things under wraps. So now every single step of negotiations, Eddie's talking about it publicly. So when something does fall through, everyone knows it's not on Matchroom side. I think that's his reasoning, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point. I hadn't really considered that, but I also think that with all the comments we've seen recently from Fury about activity and inactivity, specifically in combat sports, in the UFC as well, when he assessed Conor McGregor's fight, I think those are all really bad signs. Who knows? He might give Otto Wallin another go. I could see that as a potential. Steve Bunce actually mentioned that today on his podcast on 5 Live, and I just worry that Tyson's in that headspace where he doesn't think he's ready. One thing I will say though is Andy Lee just posted a Instagram story. I don't know if you saw it, Connor, but of Joe Parker and Tyson Fury in Tyson Fury's gym hitting the heavy bag, and I've got to say Fury looked in tremendous shape. So all that talk of not training is for me got to be a load of rubbish. I think we can only hope, can't we? And we'll have to see. Obviously, that 30 days we had for a venue is still ongoing, and we just got to keep our fingers crossed, don't we?
That's it. As fans, we've just got to sit back and wait the announcement, because it's too big of a fight not to happen, whether it happens this year or next year. But let's hope it happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, exactly. Spot on. Well, look, Connor, as I said before, there was so much action to review this weekend, and sorry out there for people that wanted to hear us review a bit more of it. But we're wishing, obviously, Carl Frampton well this weekend, and looking forward to the DAZN card as well, which I mentioned, and we'll be catching everyone later next week to review those fights, won't we?
Yeah, catch you later, and we'll also have an episode out later in the week with cruiserweight Nathan Forley. So that's exciting, something to keep an eye out for. But I'll see you in a bit, mate.
Excellent. Cheers. Thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers.